I'm making this video because I feel a bit guilty. I made another video recently where I intended it as a kind of day in my life creating my game that I'm making at the moment. And I titled it with this idea of how to make a game while also having a day job, because I thought, I'm showing off what I'm doing at the weekends. And lots of people clicked on it. And I think they probably clicked on it expecting me to talk about how you make games while having a day job. And I didn't really. So that's what this video is me talking about that. I guess it's a follow-up in a way for another video that I did called What is Success? And I'm doing it in a similar way where I don't have a script, I'm just rambling. Enjoy! I'm fairly new to making games in my spare time, but for a number of years now I have been making lots of creative projects in my time. Mostly comics, so I've had various webcomics, I've done educational comics for clients such as the Council for British Archaeology, and I did one with a heritage centre where I was an artist in residence. I did one for an EU research group that got translated into a few different languages, which was really fun. And I've done other crazy projects as well. I had this project that was called like Nice Friendly Tulips that was all these procedurally generated prints. So I kind of thrive on weird creative projects I do in my spare time. The thing that has allowed me that space to get on with these kind of projects was an understanding that I think in our society we're really sold on this idea of vocation, and that you find a job that is your passion, and that job has to fulfill everything for you. It has to be your economic security. It has to be your creative fulfillment. It has to make a positive impact on society. Often it's part of your social circle, and you have to meet people there who you bond with and who are really part of your tribe. What I feel like I've slowly come to realise is that is demanding a lot from that job. It's tying it really closely to your identity too. How many times do you meet a new person and say, "Oh, what do you do?" And they say, "Oh, I'm a hairdresser," and that colours your entire opinion of them. They are hairdresser embodied. Perhaps that hairdresser is like an amazing oil painter, but that's not what makes all of their money. That's not what gives them their daily bread. So we don't think of them as being a painter. It's really hit me lately how many people who make it in creative industries are supported in some way, either by parents or a partner or some kind of inherited wealth or privilege, or because they have another job and they're really burning the midnight oil. I always think about Virginia Woolf's famous essay about a room of one's own, where she's saying in order to write fiction comfortably, as a woman, you need two things. You need a room of your own that you can lock, and you need enough money to support yourself. Now, I don't have any kind of financial support from anybody else. I don't have parents who can lend me money. I don't have a partner who can support me. So what I have tried to do throughout my 20s is basically become my own patron. Hello, Mulkin. Mulkin Cat's here. She's so cute. Now what was I saying? So I've basically tried to become my own patron. I've sort of tried to split myself in half. There's the version of me who works for 8 hours and is the breadwinner, and then there's the version of me who in the evenings and the weekends is able to do the creative work that I would like to do, but which doesn't necessarily make me any money, doesn't make me any kind of money that I can use to support myself. So as part of that, I found a job which doesn't really pay the best, but I find it engaging and I work with really nice people. It's not very stressful, so it gives me a lot of kind of mental breathing space, and best of all, it gives me financial security and it gives me time. So I work 37 hours a week. I have 8 weeks off a year, which is higher than average for the UK, and I think it's certainly much higher than average for the US. My salary is about average, and I keep my expenses low, so I don't run a car. I live fairly frugally. Perhaps a more difficult decision is that I don't have a partner or children. I keep my life fairly simple. I don't particularly want a partner or children, which does kind of help. If you are somebody who wants those things, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying that's a decision, right? Those things are in fact optional. But our society really puts things like getting married, things like having children, things like reaching a certain level in a job, earning a certain amount of money in a job, winning awards, getting accolades. Those things are all part of milestones which are seen as markers of success. And in order to live my life the way I want to live it, I've really had to set those aside and say, I'm not going to let those apply to my life. I'm going to create my own markers of success, and I'm going to try to shield myself from having these external markers of success foisted upon me. And you know what? I'm really happy. I think I am so much happier in my 30s than I was in my 20s, and so much of it is just letting that stuff go. Funnily enough, I think this actually really ties thematically into my game, because part of my game I thought I would do a kind of elderly, retired Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes is a character in the original canon of the books. Multiple times he really works himself to exhaustion because he is really driven in his work. His work and this role that he's placed on himself as this arbiter of justice, it really gets in the way of his happiness sometimes, and it gets in the way of his relationships. And that's something that I'm kind of exploring thematically in the game. Now he's retired, he's discovered a kind of joy that he didn't have before. I guess, is he solving the greatest mystery of all? The mystery of happiness? I don't know, that's a bit cheesy, but I definitely think because I'm thinking about these things, it does bleed out into the game. That's how writing works. In terms of some practical tips, I think if you have a day job and you're also doing creative work, it's good to try not to let there be too many empty days. Just always do a little task to keep your hand in and bring yourself a little bit closer to whatever that goal is that you want to achieve. Saying that though, you also need to be kind to yourself. I think nobody in the past was expected to keep house and work full time and have side projects as well. There was always somebody to fulfill that role, whether it was like a stay-at-home spouse or somebody you hired, like a housekeeper, or since we're on a Sherlock Holmes role, the reason those gentlemen's clubs existed was so that gentlemen had a place to go and eat in the evening after they've finished with work. If they're not married, they haven't got anyone at home making food for them. That's a solution to that. Now, in the 21st century, it's rather hard to have domestic staff or membership of a club. Gosh. However, what you can do is, not have shame in things like getting a dishwasher or buying ready meals or deciding that you're going to stop buying clothes that you need to iron just so you can cut that job out of your life. It's another thing where society puts a lot of pressure on people to do everything, to always have perfectly cooked meals, perfectly vacuumed houses. And I say, if you can find a way, technology to help that and to give you time back, that is really worth it if you can swing it. It's not always possible. It is kind of a privilege thing still to be able to, buy that dishwasher or that Roomba or whatever it is you need. But certainly don't let shame be the thing stopping you from doing things that will make your life easier and give you time. Time's really important. Another part of being kind to yourself is not pushing yourself too hard. I think it's really easy to overwork, to try and burn the candle at both ends. When I was at university, I was a bit terrified because I was like the first generation in my family to go into university. I ended up at Oxford. I had to keep up with all these incredibly bright people. I was not kind to myself, and I didn't really know how to look after myself because I was only 18 and I probably had some undiagnosed stuff going on. And I really just broke my brain. You know, I just remember for a few years afterwards, I couldn't write, you know, and I didn't have creative ideas, and it wasn't nice. I promised myself not to do that ever again. It wasn't worth it. I would advise you not to ever do it, if possible. Be kind to yourself and try not to let yourself operate under high levels of stress for an extended period of time. It's not good on like a physical level, and it's not good for your work either. Last but not least, and this is maybe getting to more general life advice, but I think it is important for creative projects in particular, I have this principle that I don't wait around for anybody else to give me permission or the go-ahead to do something I want to do. And this first came about in my life where there was a thing I really wanted to see at the theatre. It was a Lord of the Rings theatre show, and I really wanted to go, and I was really badgering friends of mine, like, hey, we should go do this, we should go do this. And every time they were like, oh yeah, we should, yeah, just I'll get back to you. And I missed the chance to get tickets. And ever since then, I've really had this attitude of like, don't wait around. If you want to do a thing, do it. If it means sitting in the theatre on your own, so be it. At least you're there. Same with like going on holidays. If you can't find anyone to go with you, go by yourself. You'll meet people on the way. I think this applies to creative projects as well. It's great to work with publishers. It's great to work with collaborators. Those things are brilliant. Don't wait around for them. You can have a go at making something yourself. Get it out there, and who knows where it'll lead. That's certainly something that I think personally has been key to success for me. Key to things like getting an agent, working with museums and publishers, has been showing that I can do the job and that I can get things done, and showing them examples of my work. And I just had to get on and do that without waiting around. So if you can find channels to share your work without there being a gatekeeper, I'll go for it. You know, don't wait around. Submit the thing to the publisher, but keep on working on your own. So hopefully that's covered a little bit more my philosophy of why I work full-time and do projects that are unlikely to be able to pay the bills. Perhaps one day it'll change and I will somehow discover the key to economic stability through my own work. But in the meantime, I would prefer to just do things that I think are important and things that are true to my creative vision, which sounds really pretentious, but it's kind of true. And sometimes my creative vision is like stupid comics about a dragon man, or a Sherlock Holmes game that is just so niche, Okay, I feel absolved of guilt now. I have done a video which actually meets the brief that I accidentally set in the previous video. If you're interested in wishlisting my game, it's on Steam. You can find links to that in the description. You can also play a demo on itch.io. Again, links in the description. And if you subscribe to me, I might do other videos like this in the future. And I'll see you around.